How's everybody doing today? This is Corey Lee's Boxing, and we are back with another banger. So please smash the hell out of that like button, you guys, and subscribe. And yeah, man, we're gonna talk Devin Haney versus George Kambosos. It is going down, you guys. The rematch clause has been activated. My thoughts on this is, man, it's gonna be tough for George Kambosos to win this fight, man. The more I think about this fight, the more I break down this fight mentally, and stylistically. I think Devin Haney has the edge. He's won the first fight with pretty much, no problem. He won decisively. A lot of people say it was a landslide. Some people say that they don't even want to see this rematch. They want to see Devin Haney versus Javante Tank Davis. Um, my personal opinion about the fight is I think that it would be a good fight um, if George Kambosos can change some of the things that he did in the first fight. And one of the main things is be more active. I feel like he wasn't active enough in the first fight. He showed that, he can get outboxed. I mean, Devin Haney laid it to him, man. He really showed why he is one of the best young and upcoming talents that we have in boxing. You got to put Devin Haney up there with Shakur Stevenson and Javante Tank Davis at this point. He had no really significant wins leading up into this fight. He beat an agent, and I'm talking about Devin Haney. He beat an agent, Yorkius Gamboa. Um, and he beat a lot of guys that other guys have already had beaten. So for to see this guy, you know, do what he did to George Kambosos, definitely opened my eyes more on Devin Haney and his ability and him to fight under pressure. Man, I got to give a big kudos and a big shout out to Devin Haney for going into enemy territory and winning. Decisively. Whether the judges, and I've seen people get robbed in the same way. Have a very good dominating performance, but in the hometown, just didn't go their way. But this one was, unequivocally, he won. There was no two ways about it. He got the W. He was supposed to win. He was the favorite to win, and he did win. I think he won with his jab, and his reach. He kept George Kambosos at bay, um, and it showed. And shout out to at bay, Mickey Bay, actually helped out Devin Haney leading up into the fight. I think that helped out and paid dividends because he knew exactly how George Kambosos was, being that he was in the ring with George Kambosos a couple years prior to fighting Devin Haney. And George Kambosos, Mickey Bay went to a split decision, and Mickey Bay knew what Devin Haney was getting himself into. Being that it was a tough fight, and Mickey Bay almost won that fight. That was a split decision win for George Kambosos. But he did win. He did get the W. Um, but when I sit back and think about this rematch, I really truly think that this rematch could, you know, I give George Kambosos a slim chance. Um, and how Beef said Slim just left the building. Oh man, it's the more I think about this fight, bro, it's like the more I'm just like, man, how can George Kambosos win? He got dominated in his first fight. The only thing I can think, only way I can see him winning is if he goes for broke and actually tries to go for a knockout, because I just don't think he can outbox, Devin Haney. Devin Haney's far too slick. He was sparring, guys like Sean Porter at the tender age of 15 years old. So if you're fighting guys like that and you're sparring guys like Sean Porter, which was at welterweight, and you guys know Devin Haney fights at lightweight, that's a 10-pound 12-pound difference. Not only that, you know, that's that's probably more of a difference because fighters are bigger in between camps. You probably got Sean Porter because remember Sean Porter used to fight in the amateurs, I believe, at 160 at middleweight, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So the more I look at this fight, man, the more I break down this fight. You got both of these guys right here. They're ready to get it in, again. And George Kambosos really thinks he can win a rematch. I don't know how in the hell he thinks that. But his confidence level seems pretty high. He says, and I quote, "I know I can beat Devin Haney in a rematch." So let the games begin, man. I feel like Devin Haney, showed why he should be at the top, of the younger fighters. And I just think that, stylistically, there's nothing that George Kambosos can do other than power and maybe trying to stop Devin Haney. But but if that doesn't happen, then it's gonna be tough sledding for George Kambosos, man. It's gonna be a long, long night. Um, we've seen George Kambosos in other firefights. Like the Teofimo Lopez, that was a firefight. He knocked down Teofimo Lopez. Can we see that fire and that dog in George Kambosos in a rematch? Because mind you, we didn't really see that dog in George Kambosos in the first fight. I feel like he was okay with it just going around and collecting his highest payday of his career. George Kambosos got paid more in this fight, I believe, than any other fight leading up into this combined. That's how big this payday was. And that's how life changing it was to him and his family. Some fighters dream of fights like this. Some fighters never get fights like this, even if they get to that top level. Um, but we see now that George Kambosos, he has fought at the top level a couple times. And to be honest with you, man, I feel like Devin Haney doesn't have to change much to get this W. He's done a lot in the first fight, and I believe in the second fight a lot will be the same. He will not be able to stop Devin Haney, in my personal opinion. And the more I study this fight, George Kambosos has to work on his footwork. I feel like George Kambosos, his footwork was, his range wasn't there. He wasn't catching Devin Haney like he normally catches guys like Teofimo Lopez, Mickey Bay. And the list goes on of fighters that the fighters that George Kambosos has fought, you know. But I really think that George Kambosos could win this fight. Um, but it's a very, very slim chance. Very, very slim chance. That's why I really don't, I would really rather see Javante Tank Davis versus Devin Haney. I would love to see that fight go down. I'm pretty sure we won't get that fight, but I just really feel like if we could get that fight, man, that's a fight that a lot of fight fans would like to see, me included. I think Javante Davis can cause way more problems for Devin Haney than George Kambosos did. I think power is one of them. And when you get caught with shots like Javante Davis has, and with the power that Javante Davis has, I think that it could possibly be, devastating. The more I think about it, the more I, sit there and, really think about this fight. I just really, really, truly think that, Devin Haney, he doesn't have to change much. I think he can possibly stop George Kambosos in a rematch. Um, there was times in that fight where I'm like, could Devin Haney press the gas and go for the knockout? It's a possibility. It's a possibility. Devin Haney. I would love to see Devin Haney fight Lomachenko, man. What about this fight, you guys? Would you guys want to see this fight? I think this fight right here would get the job done. I think this fight right here in America, man, I think this fight has just greatness written all over it, man. Devin Haney versus Vasil Lomachenko, man. I think that'll be an awesome fight. Um, Devin Haney being the champion now and the undisputed champion at 135 pounds, having all of the belts. Man, he's in prime form to call the shots. Him beating George Kambosos in Australia showed a lot of fans that he's versatile and that he can defend those belts under pressure. Um, I still think he's a little green when it comes to Lomachenko, fighting Lomachenko, but we'll see. We'll see. I think if Lomachenko's 100% healthy and doesn't have anything wrong with him, I think he could possibly cause Devin Haney some problems um, in a rematch. I mean, excuse me, in a fight um, going forward. You know, we seen Devin Haney. You know, just the jab, bro. His jab was just in the face of George Kambosos all freaking night long, and he could not do anything to stop that. It was one of those things like George Kambosos showed the world that he didn't have enough at the top level. He got thoroughly outboxed for 12 rounds, and I think the same goes in the rematch. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I would love to know what you guys think in the comment section. Please, whatever you do, smash that like button and subscribe. And until next time, you guys, peace.